This exhibit is one of an ongoing program of art exhibitions at the Cleveland Clinic Foundation, presented to the public. The Cleveland Clinic is committed to enhancing the environment for our patients and their families through exhibits such as this and through the artwork that hangs throughout the campus in waiting areas and corridors. The images in this particular exhibition reflect the beauty of nature and the art in science. They are drawn from various sources within NASA and the Cleveland Clinic, and many of them represent the fruit of joint projects between our organizations. As you wander through the exhibit, which is in the main lobby of the hospital, you'll see over 80 items arranged in a variety of categories. There is fine art, future art, photography, images from space, artifacts, and science as art. Bert Ulrich, an accomplished space artist, said something that captures the spirit of this exhibition. He said, "There are parallels between artists, scientists, and astronauts. They are all humans discovering new ways to interpret the unknown." We hope that you'll feel that spirit of interpretation and exploration as you visit the exhibition. Here are some samples of what you'll see. In fine art paintings, this quasi-abstract painting is of special interest because it was executed by Dr. Julian Earls, the director of the NASA Glenn Research Center, and Cleveland artist Anne Vandervelde. It was painted in the winter of 2003, shortly after the Columbia accident, as part of a national charity event, and it is titled Columbia: Hopes, Dreams, and Inspiration. In this picture, 40 Pounds of Lead by Henry Caselli, an astronaut undergoing special training to practice moving about in the weightless environment of space is shown. In 1980, when this work was painted, astronauts practiced in an 18-feet-deep water immersion facility at NASA's Johnson Space Center. A 40-pound lead weight was strapped onto them to simulate the bulk of the equipment they'd need to wear in space and to make them neutrally buoyant, neither floating nor sinking in the water. Future space travel. Here you see Seen on Mars by Pat Rawlings. Space travel has caught the imagination of science fiction writers and science fiction painters. This is Digital Art by Pat Rawlings. Did life ever exist on Mars? If so, the best evidence may be fossils preserved in the rocks. And NASA now has the red planet in its sights in the new vision for space exploration. In the category of photography, there are a number of photographic prints made from photographs shot in the 1940s that look like movie stills and have a wonderful vintage quality. They're also important historical documents. In this photograph from NASA Photography, you see an engineer experimenting in an icing research tunnel in 1945. When journalists from the Aviation Writers Association visited the Cleveland Laboratory in June 1945, they witnessed a carefully orchestrated display of the mysterious world of aircraft propulsion. This was the laboratory's public debut, the first time NACA could partially pull back the shroud of wartime secrecy. Built at the end of World War II, the icing research tunnel was instrumental in developing and testing ice protection systems for piston and propeller-driven aircraft. This picture, also from NASA Photography, shows a high-speed moving picture capturing a ramjet L-40 engine test, and it was shot by Arthur Laufman in 1946. Planned with the help of General Electric, contractors from NACA, the predecessor of NASA, completed the one-story Jet Propulsion Static Test Laboratory in September of 1943. Here, the thrust augmenter flame of a ramjet I-40 engine is being captured through high-speed motion pictures in the Jet Propulsion Static Test Laboratory. There are a number of very beautiful photographs shot from space. Here you see the very famous view of Earth taken from Apollo 17 in 1972. Just hours after liftoff from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, the crew of Apollo 17 found themselves aligned with Earth and the Sun, enabling them to take this full disk view of Earth. The entire continent of Africa, much of the ice-locked continent of Antarctica, and small portions of Europe and the Asian mainland are visible in this photograph. Tawny-colored land masses on Africa are the Saharan, Libyan, and Arabian deserts. Extensive weather systems of swirling clouds generated in the Earth's atmosphere are also visible from space. Here you see a view of a distant star taken from the Hubble in February 2004. This is nature's own piece of performance art. A view of an expanding halo of light around a distant star named V8383 Monocerotis. The illumination of the interstellar dust comes from the red giant star in the middle of the image, which gave up a flashbulb-like pulse of light 2 years ago. V8383 Mon is located about 20,000 light-years away from the Earth in the direction of the constellation Monoceros, placing the star at the outer edge of our Milky Way galaxy. This is a photograph of the toe of the boot of Italy, taken in 2003 by astronauts on STS-107, the last mission of the Space Shuttle Columbia. This picture is particularly poignant since it was on a roll of unprocessed film that was later recovered by searchers looking for debris from the accident. We have a number of artifacts that have been used in the space program and in space research. This is a Faraday cage called a buckyball. Sometimes the tools that scientists use have an inherent beauty. This is the case with this delicate Faraday cage in the form of a buckyball, developed by scientists at NASA's Glenn Research Center and used to study the effects of electric fields on flames. If more than 4,000 volts of potential difference is applied across this cage, the influence of the electric fields on flames can be studied. You will also see in the exhibition a Russian spacesuit that was designed for astronaut Shannon Lucid, a career astronaut who's also a biochemist. Dr. Lucid spent 188 days on a mission to the Russian Mir space station in 1996. The final category is one that most exemplifies the collaboration between the Cleveland Clinic Foundation and the NASA Glenn Research Center, and that is science as art. In this microscopic view of human bone cells, the stained section is of a human thigh bone produced by Greg Zimmerle of NASA Glenn Research Center, and it's actually less than 1/100th of an inch across in real size. It not only shows the fine biological detail of the Haversian canal in black carrying nutrients to the smaller osteocytes or bone cells, but it's a wonderful work of art in its own right, with balance, form, and color that would distinguish a work of abstract art. Poets and artists have long used fire as an analog for life. And they were more right than they knew. Shown here is a fingering charred pattern formed when a fire is starved for oxygen. The pattern visually resembles many of those found in nature, such as seaweed, leaf veins, coral, or cactus. This pattern is formed when, burning across a piece of paper, the flame is suddenly starved of oxygen. The flame undergoes this condition and breaks into flamelets, where each flamelet competes for enough oxygen to survive. In this exhibition, you'll see some large displays, beautifully produced by Joel Hill, of the scientific work that Cleveland Clinic physicians and scientists and NASA Glenn engineers have done in space and for space. On this slide are traces from ultrasonic exploration of human hearts and reconstructed images of the heart from CAT scans. This is the work of Dr. James Thomas and engineers from NASA Glenn. This display shows the work of Dr. Brian Davis and myself to investigate why astronauts lose bone in space. One important detail is that Dr. Don Thomas, a Cleveland astronaut who recently visited the Cleveland Clinic Foundation, actually trained as a subject in this experiment, and he is shown on the bottom left of the display. Finally, there is a lot for children in this exhibition. This is exemplified by this Lego model by Adrian Drake of a fantasy spaceship. I should mention that the son of our curator for this exhibition, Dan DeChant, also has some Lego pieces in the exhibition. So let us return to Earth with this historic film clip of the landing of the first ever shuttle mission in April of 1981.
2,500 feet, clear.
Pilot Jim Young guided the Columbia orbiter down to a picture-perfect landing, shadowed by a chase plane on the shimmering runway 23 at Kennedy Space Center.
They're coming. Go down. 50 feet. 40, 30, 20, 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, touchdown. Those gears, 10 feet. 5, 4, 3, touchdown. Look above, skipper. Welcome home, Columbia. Beautiful, beautiful. You'll have to take it up the hangar, Joe. We're going to dust it off first.